Couple of intriguing stories on this Thursday here in the world of entertainment. We have a story right here about how Michael B. Jordan is in early talks to join Universal's reboot of Miami Vice, which is still very weird that we're getting a reboot of Miami Vice not but 20 years after the last reboot of Miami Vice, but sounds like they're on the right track here with this project. This is a story from Deadline Hollywood, and it says that Joseph Kosinski and Universal's highly anticipated Miami Vice movie looks to be heating up as Deadline is hearing Michael B. Jordan is in early talks to star as the iconic TV character Detective Ricardo Tubbs. Sources say it's still very early on and no deals are done, but after scheduling was worked out for this film to start shoot later in 2026, Jordan is engaging and very interested in starring in the project. Kosinski is directing with Eric Warren Singer and Dan Gilroy penning the script. Dylan Clark and Kosinski are producing. The film is dated for August 6, 2027, and this version will explore the glamour and corruption in mid-80s Miami, inspired by the pilot episode in the first season of the NBC TV show that influenced culture and set the style of everything from fashion to filmmaking. The film is based off characters created by Anthony Yerkovich from the series executive produced by Yerkovich and Michael Mann. Singer was the first scribe originally developing the adaptation with Kosinski. The show blasted off Don Johnson as a pinup star in the role of Sonny Crockett and Philip Michael Thomas as Detective Ricardo Tubbs, in addition to a white suit fashion trend during the 1980s. Rumors have been flying for months on who might star with Jordan's name being linked as at least one, but sources say the official offer only came in the last week after the studio was working to move dates so that Jordan could finish post on his next directing gig, The Thomas Crown Affair, and also shoot this. Again, while the deal is not done yet, insiders say it is heading in the direction after Jordan was blown away by the recent rewrite Gilroy delivered. As for the role of Crockett, sources say the part is open and the studio is looking to lock up Jordan's partners soon. Which, if you really want to make this the hot-selling movie of the summer, I think we all know they should probably get here. And that's, of course, somebody like Glenn Powell, who's going to have The Running Man coming up next month. He's one of the hottest young stars in Hollywood. It would make too much sense if Glenn Powell isn't alongside Michael B. Jordan when this movie comes out. I mean, that seems like ideal casting right there. Glenn Powell as Crockett, and then Michael B. Jordan as Tubbs. Something that actually could work out in this movie's favor overall. As far as Miami Vice goes, I never really watched the TV series as a whole. My first real introduction to it came with the 2006 Jamie Foxx Colin Farrell movie, directed by Michael Mann, which I actually thought was actually pretty good. It got a bad rap when it came out, largely been forgotten, but it's actually a pretty damn good movie overall. I was really impressed by it, so yeah, I thought it was pretty good overall. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do here with this. Michael B. Jordan can add excitement to anything he's in. He's one of the hottest young actors out there, young filmmakers out there. I mean, not just as an actor, but as a director as well. I mean, the guy's got a bright future ahead of him. And I always look forward to whatever project he's involved in. And like I said, I think he and Glenn Powell would probably make this casting here work so well. I wouldn't be shocked at all if Glenn Powell somebody they're looking at for the second role here. But so that's the story about Miami Vice. Let's move on to the next story I've got for you. And that is that yet another version of A Christmas Carol is in the works. We kind of talked about how Warner Brothers was already working on one with Willem Dafoe in it, directed by Robert Eggers, but this one is coming from Paramount, and it's big for a couple of reasons. One, it's another big project for Paramount since the Skydance merger, but two, it's Johnny Depp returning to big-budget movies in general here, because it says here on Deadline Hollywood, the studio's in final negotiations to board Ebenezer A Christmas Carol with Johnny Depp set to star and Ty West on board to direct. Ty West, of course, is the guy that gave us Pearl and X. Andrea Riseborough has also signed on, with the studio dating the film for November 13th, 2026. So this one's coming sooner rather than later, while the other one by Warner Brothers is yet to have a release date set for it. Nathaniel Halpern penned the script with Emma Watts producing. The classic Charles Dickens story has seen its fair share of retellings over the years, with its tale of his elderly miser visited by the ghost of his former business partner and the spirits of Christmas past, present, and yet to come. As I said, this is the second Christmas Carol pick in the works after Warner Brothers put an adaptation with Robert Eggers with Willem Dafoe in line to play Scrooge earlier this year. In this version, a thrilling ghost story set in Dickens' London follows one man's supernatural journey to face his past, present, and future and fight for a second chance. So essentially, it's the same story as every other Christmas Carol adaptation, but there are a lot of good Christmas Carol adaptations. It just depends on on which version you're keen to. Like the ones I grew up with are, of course, the Mickey's Christmas Carol. The classic ones with the basically cartoon-based Flintstones, Mr. Magoo, the Muppets. There's been great regular versions of A Christmas Carol. The one with Jim Carrey always sticks up with me. Different twists and turns on the story of A Christmas Carol. Specifically, the best one, I think, is the Bill Murray one with Scrooge. So there are ways you can definitely do this story and put a unique spin on it, and I'm hoping that's what they're going to do here, especially with a director like Ty West with his unique style of filmmaking. But there's also a possibility that this could go down the path of one of the worst adaptations, which is surprisingly one from FX and stars Guy Pearce, and that was the Christmas Carol one that was on FX back in 2019, which is one that I still think is one of the worst adaptations, honestly. I couldn't believe how bad that was, considering it's FX and it's Stephen Knight, the guy who made Peaky Blinders, but I mean, I love the story overall. It's one of my favorite stories of all time. So I'm obviously going to be there for when this movie comes out. And hopefully this is a return to form for Johnny Depp overall. I mean, he desperately needed after the many years he was away, mostly because of that lawsuit with Amber Heard. But, hey, a chance to get back in the spotlight, get back into the swing of things. So, yeah, that's something that's happening there with Johnny Depp. Going to play Ebenezer Scrooge. So I got one more story to cover for you here. And it's nothing really that significant to most people, but I find it kind of intriguing. And that is the fact that Wicked is coming to NBC not but 1 year after it was released in theaters. Now, that doesn't really sound like anything too significant or too impressive for me to talk about here, but I'm going to explain why this is so significant in just a moment here. But let me have the story here. This is the Hollywood Reporter saying this. If you care to find Wicked before its follow-up, Wicked for Good, in theaters, look to your local NBC station. The network has set the broadcast premiere of Wicked for November 19th, 2 days of For Good's debut on movie screens. The presentation will run for 3.5 hours with commercials starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. The NBC airing of Wicked is part of a big promotional push leading up to For Good, which comes from corporate sibling Universal Pictures. The network is also airing a 2-hour musical special titled Wicked One Wonderful Night on November 6th that features performances from the cast members, along with interviews and behind-the-scenes glimpses. Outside the NBC Universal family, the movie is also getting some free publicity from ABC's Dancing with the Stars, which has a Wicked-themed night on Tuesday. Not part of the For Good blitz, notably, is Peacock, NBC's streaming service, who has an exclusive window for Wicked earlier in the year, but that movie isn't currently available there. It now streams on Prime Video. So what's really significant about this is the fact that you've got a big blockbuster from a major studio coming on TV not but less than a year after it hits theaters. And that's kind of a big deal because for the longest time, you know, a movie hits theaters, and then 2 to 3 years later, it ends up on television, whether it's on CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox, or just go straight to cable, like on FX. But even FX, as of late, has been cutting it down a little bit here. It used to be a 2-year gap, but now it's more than half. It's more like a 1.5 gap now, because I remember the Bob's Burgers movie came out in May 2022, and then all of a sudden in January 2024, it was showing up on FXX. I mean, it's cut not just with the Bob's Burgers movie, but a number of different more recent blockbusters like and notable films like West Side Story. I think came on FX around less than a year and a half after it came out in theaters. This past year, FX has really been delving into it because when Alien Earth premiered on FX not too long ago, Alien Romulus came onto the network, even though that movie had only been out for a year. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was just on TV not too long ago. That came out last year, so we're starting to see the dynamics of linear cable changing as a whole, as most people are steering away from that and going straight to streaming at times. But it's kind of an interesting new world that we're living in with that there. I mean, this story's nothing that significant, but I found it kind of fascinating that we're heading in this new direction now. And it's only a matter of time, then we'll see a big blockbuster movie hitting theaters, and then in 1 year, and then later on that very same year hitting television not too long after that. I mean, the time to get the movie from from theaters to TV is getting smaller and smaller and smaller by the minute. So, found it kind of amusing to talk about here. And like I said, this is a video being done because we have 4 consecutive weeks of the Reviewing Network Live Sunday Night NFL Rewatch coming up starting this week. So we won't be able to do our regular format on the show there, so expect to see more of these videos coming up in the next couple of weeks or so if we get some big news stories. And there were a couple of news stories we're talking about here, so with that said, I'll see you guys next time.